I know, Claire, you've been on a Zoom with me before, and it's going to be very similar to that. It was such a great time together. I have gotten tons of requests to have you back. And so I wanted to make sure that we did that right away and actually get it recorded this time. We messed that up last time, and we want to make sure we have the recording. And then I heard from a little birdie that we couldn't leave Katie Rogers out of this either. So we decided to include you, Katie, and you just promoted to Triple Diamond. Is that right?
I did in March. It's been super exciting.
And did you get the Go Fast?
Heck yes, I got that Go Fast.
Woo! Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, here's how I'd like to get started. And this is how I like to start most, whether it's a panel at an event, whether it is a Zoom like this. I want to start out with having you tell your story. And the reason is because I know success is an identity process. And once people can identify with you, then they also will have success in this business right behind you. So with that being said, Claire, why don't you get us kicked off? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Claire Flores. I'm currently in Phoenix, Arizona. I got started with this business 21 months ago. I was friends on social media with Alyssa Bellew, and we were both bloggers, and so we had connected that way. And I had seen her start this business and seen it change her life. And I took notice of it, but I definitely didn't think that it was something for me. I didn't think that I would be a good fit for this type of business. I was a stay-at-home mom of 4 little ones. I had 4 under the age of 6 when I first got started. And I knew that I wanted a way to make extra money from home. My husband was working 50 plus hours a week as a general contractor. And I was sick of him being gone all the time. I was sick of saying goodbye to him before my kids were up in the morning and not seeing him until they were, in bed at night. And so I wanted more for our family. I wanted freedom for our family. And so about that time, I started praying and asking God for a solution to our situation. And I was sick of living paycheck to paycheck. I wanted more freedom. And I opened up Instagram and saw Alyssa's post. She had a post about an opportunity. And so I just went ahead and texted her and got started and took an absolute leap of faith. So much unknown, but I was excited to see what God would do for my family through this business. And got started, went Ruby in 25 days. And so to be able to start paying our groceries for a family of 6 just a month in was life-changing for us. Within 4 months, I matched my husband's income as a general contractor. We retired him in 5 months, and we've just been all in ever since, and started making a 6-figure income just a couple months after that, which was never something we thought possible for our family. So just basically living the dream now. We were able to move to Phoenix, Arizona since doing this business, promoted to Presidential Diamond back in March, and we're going all the way. We love this company.
So you just recently promoted since the last time we had a Zoom together then?
Yes, I promoted in March.
And you got the Go Fast also?
Yes, I did, and my husband went triple also and got the Go Fast.
Holy smokes. That's incredible. Claire, I love that. And, so you were a blogger when you first got started. And it's interesting that you say that because I had a big aha moment when I was with Alyssa Bellew recently because, she was speaking very candidly about how she builds online and people think it just happened overnight. But she said, she had been building that online presence, connecting through social and blogging for years prior to It Works. And so, when they think it happened in the blink of an eye, that's because the majority of us come to this business without this huge pool of connections, where it sounds like you also kind of walked in with that similar type of situation.
Yeah, my network was a bit smaller because I wasn't the superstar blogger that Alyssa was, but I also moved a lot. So I had a lot of different networks to draw from.
I really love that. And you know what I want to say to that for people on the call right now before we move it on over to Katie, because I'm just so fired up about this, is, I believe, I'm going to hold that thought and I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to let Katie talk first, and then I think it will probably join nicely between. So before I say that, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. All right, Katie, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys. Okay, so I'm Katie Rogers. I'm from Indy. I have been in this business just shy of 2 years. It'll be 2 years in July.
And I met you at the boot camp there with Alyssa Bellew, didn't I?
Yeah. Yep. I was there. Yeah.
Looked really
Yes.
familiar.
It was awesome. Yep. So basically I was a hairstylist. I was gone all the time. My little girl at the time was 3 years old and I never saw her. She was at daycare all the time. I was 8 months pregnant and I knew that it was going to be the same thing all over with the new baby. And I was sick of not being in my kids' lives. Like I got to give them breakfast and dinner. And that was about it. So I wanted more and I saw Alyssa Billiou posting. Actually, I watched her for 9 months without saying a single word to her. And I just kind of quietly watched, not thinking I could ever do this. And one night I was sitting at home and I think it's a total God thing. I told my husband, I was like, I'm so sick of this. Like, I don't want to work anymore. If Alyssa Billiou, this girl who I don't even know who the heck she is, if she posts one more time tonight about anything having to do with a stay-at-home mom, I'm messaging her. And he was like, okay. So it's like 10:30 at night, I'm scrolling through. What do you know? She made a post about anybody who wants to be a stay-at-home mom, contact me. And so I messaged her and I got started that next day without even knowing a thing about the company, never trying a product. And since then, I've literally had my head down. I caught the vision with this company from the very second that I started. And it's been almost 2 years. I was able to retire a year ago, so I get to be with my kids all the time and grow this business with them while making memories with them, which is amazing. We've earned $153,000 in bonuses, make a 6-figure income, and it has absolutely changed everything for us. So it's just been so cool.
Thank you so much for sharing. You know, I love how different you guys' backgrounds are. It really do, because you're going to bring 2 very fresh perspectives to this call tonight. Now, I want you guys to know that for whatever reason, my camera is not working and I'm having all sorts of technical glitch little challenges. So we're just going to keep rocking this out in spite of that. I can't even figure out how to turn my camera on. Interesting. I didn't turn it off. All right, so we're going to keep going with this. Claire, I want to come back to you here for a minute because one of the things I want to highlight about your story is you did have a network, if you will. It might have been a small network, but you had a network. I'm thinking, folks, how many people do you know that already have a network? Maybe, and it might not necessarily be an online network. It might be they know everybody. Think about that person that you know has a ton of contacts. I remember when Ashley Sinclair joined, because she owned those bridal boutiques, she went real fast because she had networked for a long time and had a pool that she was able to connect with very quickly out of the gate. And so, you know, we always talk about how you need to add to your contact list every day. And as you're listening to Katie and Claire today, I want you guys to, as people are coming to mind that they're prompting you to think of, write their names down and contact them after this call. That's what I want you to do. And as you hear Claire say that she was a blogger before this and had a network, think of who you know that has influence that you could connect with this business and share Claire's story. Think of who you know, like Katie, who's a hairstylist, who just wants to be home with their child, and get them on that list and contact and share Katie's story, because, you know, stories sell. They truly do. And they help people to attach and catch a vision for what we're doing. So with that said, Claire, why don't you go ahead and tell us, I've got notes here because Samantha got us so ready for tonight's call. And I know you have been instrumental in inspiring to her, and also you've poured into her. And I can't tell you how thankful I am for your one team, one mission mindset. But how do you connect with people and build relationships on social media?
Yeah, so going about building relationships on social media, I think you just have to bring it small. You know, you can't think of it as strangers across the country. You have to just bring it really intimate and small and just relate to them as though they're your best friend, and just be really casual with people that you're talking to on social media. You know, think of however you can make it smaller, do that. So if you can voice message, you can get more personal that way. If you can video message on Instagram, getting more personal that way. If you can just FaceTime somebody really quick, you know, whatever you can do to just make it feel less formal and less from behind a screen, always do that. And then as far as connecting on social media, the most important thing is that you've got to be consistently adding to your network. Because even if you come into this with thousands of friends already, you're still going to reach a ceiling. You're still going to reach a point where you've reached everyone. And so you want to continually be adding fresh people into your network. So that is the most important part, is that you're always adding new people. I usually recommend, when you're adding new people to your network, think of things that you have common interests with. For me, I have fun with makeup, so I join a lot of makeup groups, and then I add the girls from those groups, and we kind of relate over that, and then we end up talking about the business or talking about the products, or of course moms groups, or things like that, whatever you might have a common interest with. And then I also will add people to a list on Facebook. And this isn't something I'm going to go super in depth with, but basically you can divide your Facebook friends into lists. So I do have a list for my potentials. And that's just kind of a way for me to separate, you know, my It Works friends on Facebook to just my list of just potentials. And those are just new ads.
For it. I already ordered it.
With the business.
Hold on, I'm going to mute.
Are you frustrated? These are probably good.
It's the same thing.
Okay. All right, now you can unmute yourself, Claire. I'm so sorry about that.
Totally fine. So once I get them in that list, then it's easier. Facebook lets me just click on that list, and then I can go through and interact with the people in that list. And just along with interacting, that's so important when you're connecting on social media, that you're not just putting up posts and expecting people to like and comment on your posts. It's very important that you're making sure that you're liking and commenting on other people's posts as well, and that you're really interacting and you're being kind of a selfless social media user. You know, that you're making sure that you're taking time to put really thoughtful comments and thoughtful likes on other people's things, so that they feel closer to you. And then
I just want to interject real quick for 1 minute, which I know it's hard because there's a still photo of me sitting there, so it doesn't look like I'm as engaged as I really am. But, you know, I just want to say, for those of you that are wondering what she's talking about these lists, go to YouTube and Google how to make Facebook lists, and you will find a tutorial to show you how to do that. I'm not this huge, like, I was never this huge online builder, but it really did help with my follow-up and connecting and building relationships with even people I met at wrap parties, expos, and out blitzing. And it helped me to keep it all in one place and stay organized. So I love the list idea, Claire, because I love how you can even just make posts that only go directly to those lists to make sure everybody on that list actually sees it, not just the random people Facebook's algorithm show it to, you know? So sorry for cutting you off, but I love the list idea.
No, you're fine. It's great. Yeah, and then the reason that Samantha and I actually originally connected was she had seen my YouTube video about how I connect with people on Instagram. And so I'll just briefly go over that because I have a YouTube video about where I kind of go in depth. But basically on Instagram, just to kind of make it smaller and to kind of take cold messaging down to a really warm messaging approach, I will go through my Instagram feed and just choose about 20 people per week is usually a good number. I'll try to do like 50 when I'm really pushing for a promotion or I want to pull in some more strong potentials. But about 20 is a comfortable number, and I'll just make a list of their names in a notebook of their usernames on Instagram. And for 1 week, I'm going to go to those people's page every single day, and I'm going to connect with them. I'm going to write a meaningful comment. I'm going to like. If they haven't posted that day, I'll go back to a previous picture and comment and like, and really just show interest in them for an entire week. And once I've interacted with them daily for that whole week, I'll send them a message and just say something along the lines of, you know, I've been loving your page for a little while now, and I really think you'd be great at what I do. Have you ever considered making an income from social media? And I also, you know, I get really personal with them in that message because I've been in their feed now for a solid week. They've seen me liking, they've seen me stalking their stuff for a solid week. So I'm able to say something really personal, whether it's about their kids or about their job or about, you know, congratulations on whatever I saw in their newsfeed that week. So that's just been a really great way to build connections. And Instagram is kind of a microwave for relationships. You can build a relationship really fast on Instagram.
Ooh, I love that. Oh my gosh, Sam, I know that's what really, you know, that's what really inspired you to reach out and connect with Claire. What else has she not said that you're like dying to get her to share?
Well, for me, it was kind of an aha moment because I think when you hear leaders talk about building relationships on social media, you always wonder, you know, what they're doing. And I think for the longest time, I was so disorganized, I didn't know how to build. And so when Claire had that system of writing down the 20 names and that was a way to keep organized. And so for me, it was about coming up with a system, being organized with who you're connecting with, so it's not just like random people.
I love that. And Sam, why don't you tell our audience of 500 people, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? Because I didn't give you an opportunity to do that when you got started. I love that you're an emerald with an ambassador mindset.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna be there someday for sure. Working hard on it, but yeah, I've been in for a little over a year, and I grew to emerald pretty fast, and then I guess I was pregnant, so I kind of let the pregnancy get a hold of me a little bit with the business. But I was looking, after I had the baby, I was really looking for something to get me back in and get me organized and get me set up on social media since I had a new baby. At first, when I first started, I built Belly to Belly, and I did a ton of parties. And I just wasn't able to leave as much after having the baby. So I was searching for something to do on social media so I could stay home with Harper. And then that's when I was introduced to Claire, and I just fell in love with her videos, and I watched a ton of her training videos, and I was like, oh, it makes so much sense now. And then that's when I kind of just created a notebook and just got really organized with my business. And so, yeah.
And you've been doing power hours with your team every night after babies go to bed for hours, right?
Right. Yeah, we do it every night. So whenever you hear your team say, well, I just don't have the support, I thought of this idea because I wanted to offer the support that they needed. If they were willing to work, I was going to be there to help. And so it's not so much training Zooms, it's just a Zoom where we get together and we work. And if we have questions or, concerns or anything, we're there to help each other.
So it's like being in person at the coffee shop, having power hours and stuff, right?
Right.
I love that. I love that. All right. So you were really adamant that not only would we have Claire on tonight, but we had to bring Katie on as well. So why don't you ask her the first question for tonight?
Okay. Let me look.
We have a very organized plan, Katie.
So, Katie, do you do anything different than Claire does whenever she, as far as building relationships on social media?
As far as building relationships, I really don't. We're on the same team. I feel like we do things pretty similarly. I can't stress enough, being relatable and, friending people, growing your network that you have things in common with. That has been a huge help to me. I'm not going to connect as well with a 19-year-old chick that's out, having fun every weekend than I am going to connect with a mom that wants to be home with her kids. So I really try to find moms groups, moms on Facebook that I can connect with. And that way, when I am liking and commenting on their things, I really have a good starting off point, because I am the same as them. We have commonalities, so I can be very genuine when I'm talking with them. And it paves the way, I guess, for awesome conversations to follow. So we do it very similarly.
I love that, Katie. But you know what I love? I love that you're a hairstylist and you're using the internet to build your business. And I'm not telling any of you tonight to quit doing belly to belly and wrap parties, because I'm telling you, we're going to party our way to profits all year long. But I love the twist that Claire and Katie, the dynamics they're adding for moms that don't have as many options, or doing this is a huge priority. But what I like mostly about what you guys are doing, and the reason I wanted to elevate you guys tonight, is because you're building relationships. You're not just it's not just about the number. They still are a person to you, and you're building that personal touch. And Katie, I remember seeing you on stage. You were fired up and you were full of passion. And I think you're a blitzer too, right?
I like to blitz. Yes, I do. I'm with my kids in the house a lot of times, so that's why social media is awesome for me. But anytime I'm out, if I'm at Target or, wherever, yeah, I love to blitz.
I remember that about you. Okay, so my next question for you would be, what are the different social media outlets you use? And give us a few tips for posting.
Are you asking me first?
Yes, you. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Katie. Yes.
No, you're totally fine. I use both Instagram and Facebook equally. So I like them both. I think they are very different platforms. I kind of started out on Facebook a little bit more because I had no idea what the heck Instagram even was really when I started. I think I had maybe 1 follower and I never posted anything. So
you started from scratch, completely opposite.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I never posted, hardly ever.
And how long did it take for you to actually start seeing a return on your investment of doing the things that you and Claire do online?
I mean, it went pretty quickly, I think, because I was building like genuine relationships.
Awesome.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but basically my main tips for posting is to just be you. Like I talk, our team a lot, we talk about building a brand for yourself. And really when people start, what are the 5 things that describe you as a person? Okay. For me, it was God. My faith is so important to me. My family, my friends. I'm a coffee fanatic, so that was another thing. And then just like fashion and, so when you go to my page, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see me drinking coffee, working my business and talking about my faith and my friends and my family and all that. So when you start, don't just become all about It Works and throw everything else out the window. You want to bring It Works into your life because that's how people are going to start following your journey. And so when I started, I really thought about that. I wanted to stay true to me. I just wanted people to come to my page and know exactly who I was by scrolling through for a little bit. So especially when you're getting started, brand yourself. Make sure that people know what they're getting when they come to your page. You're going to see positivity and fun and, whatever is you, do it really, really, really well. And I think people just really will be drawn to that. So that's my number 1 tip for posting. And then just stay positive, you guys. You own a business now. Everything on my page is positive. Doesn't matter if my kids, puking all over, whatever, put some positive spin on it that relates to It Works somehow, but everything should be positive.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more. It needs to be your highlight reel for sure. Because whether you want that to be, you may be thinking, yeah, but this is my personal page. No, you're a business owner and you're representative of It Works. And therefore you have a responsibility to hold to. I just truly believe that. Okay, so Claire, I know you talked a little bit about how you organize and how you make the list, but are there any other ways that you organize yourself when it comes to follow-up? And what are some of those messages you send?
When you're talking organization, Katie's definitely your girl. I'm super laid back.
Ask her that.
I'm super laid back. I'm super relaxed, but I do have my small systems that help keep me at least somewhat in order. And this notebook is this goes with me everywhere. These are my potentials. I update it every single month because that just works for me. And then I can kind of take stock of everybody in my brain. So every month I start a new list and I move people over or I leave some people that, aren't moving forward with me. And I just look at it. And this is, I pull this out every time that I'm going to do follow-ups. I pull out this notebook and I go through each person. I highlight them when they sign. I cross them out. If I decide that I'm, completely moving on from them for whatever reason. And so that kind of keeps me organized as far as my follow-ups and everything. And then my follow-up messages, I usually try to keep really casual and really simple. I voice message whenever possible, just because that, I think just a little bit smaller. And so I try to voice message them and just check in with them. But also, I think it's important when we're talking about follow-ups, I'm not a ghost between follow-ups. And what I mean by that is I'm not following up and then they don't hear from me again until the next time I follow up. I'm interacting on their page. I am commenting, I'm liking, I'm shooting them a message when I see something exciting that happened in their life. I'm being a friend. And so they're not only ever hearing from me when I follow up, unless of course they're completely ignoring me and then they're still gonna hear from me on their newsfeed. But obviously then it's not a conversation. And I just try to keep it really simple. Something as simple as, are you ready to get started? really like that simple. I think sometimes we overcomplicate it and we feel like we have to send this paragraph and this is why it's the best day to join and this is, all the promotions that are out right now and this is all of this. But sometimes it's just being like, hey girl, are you ready to change your life? Or hey girl, are you ready to get started? Or, I'll draw from whatever they've already shared with me, whether they want to come home with their kids. Hey, are you ready to move one step closer to being home with your kids? Something just really personal and simple.
All right. Now, Katie, how would you add to that, knowing you're the follow-up queen?
Oh gosh. I really just, I try to be a friend to them as well. I don't like for people just to hear from me when, their time's coming around that I need to check in with them. I like them to know that I'm really there for them and that I'm like for real invested in their lives. I want them to know that I'm there for them. So I try to, hey, your outfit's super cute today, or your kids are so cute, just whatever on their posts. And I try to just stay engaged with them that way. But with follow-ups, I'm a very organized person. I like everything like just so. But so I try to keep really organized. My planner is like my lifesaver. I make sure to write everybody down in it. Like the week that I talk with them, I write them down. So I make sure that our conversation doesn't fall off. And on Fridays, I try to really reconnect with people that my conversations dropped off with that week. I just try not to leave anybody behind. I always follow up with people, usually weekly. And just like Claire said, super simple. And I'm very direct. So I'll just be like, dude, let's get started today. I'm so excited. But just really, really simple.
Okay. Got it.
So like, what do you do if like they ignore you over and over and over again? Do you keep following up with them, or do you cross them off your list? Or, because I mean, there's many people that like, they'll say, yes, I'm interested, and then they just ignore you. Like, how do you handle that?
I personally will follow up to the day that I die with somebody. Now that is if they showed interest initially. Now, if I like reached out and said, you'd be amazing at this, blah, 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 and they never responded, then no, I'm not going to keep doing that. But if they reached out at one point, I truly believe that at one point they were interested. At some point in the future, they'll be interested again. It just has to be the right timing. People have things happen in their lives all the time. I think it's like every 9 months, something big, changes in somebody's life, pregnancies, job loss, anything like that. So even if I'm not following up with them weekly, I'll put them to a monthly follow-up list, and I'll hit them up every month, no matter what. And I signed actually a girl last month that I had been following up with since the week I started, and she'd ignored me since probably the first 2 messages, and she finally signed. So I really think that at some point something will change in their life and they'll come back to you.
Gosh, I couldn't agree more. And I don't know if you guys have heard the story of Amy Spence, but I believe Allie Antonacci followed up with her religiously for like months. And it took like a transition moment for Amy to all of a sudden open her eyes. And like you said, Katie, you were like, if she posts one more thing, and then boom, there it was, right? And you were adamantly against it. I couldn't agree more. Listen, guys, my dad owns a company and I didn't sign up right away. And there was certainly a rift because of it. And yet when life, transitioned for me and things changed and I was not about to go back to school and raise everybody else's kids while somebody was raising mine, then all of a sudden I was a little bit more open to this. So I think some people they're not there yet. And that's okay. We need to be a little patient. But they'll get there. They'll get there. All right, Sam, what questions am I missing? I don't want to leave anything out. It's so special that we have these girls on the call with us, and I just appreciate you both so, so very much.
Yeah. I guess like another one that would be good is like, how many messages do you send out daily? Like, I know you said like you connect with like 20 people a week or 50. Is that like your max for both of y'all? Do that, or like whenever you're really pushing, you send out, because like when you're trying to sign like little customers, you do like a push where you send out a whole bunch of messages, or like how does that work for y'all?
So Katie and I are different on this, which I actually love. I think it's always great to learn from different leaders and different styles, because you're always going to find a style that more resonates with you and your personality. So I'll share mine, and I'll let Katie go, because Katie's so great at this. But I don't do any just messaging, and this is just kind of a different way in which I build my business. I build more, I guess people would call it attraction marketing. I'm a little like more hesitant to brand it as that, but I don't send out messages really, unless for the method from Instagram that I already mentioned. But here's the thing: if you're gonna do attraction marketing, or whatever, I don't think that's the best name for it, but if you're going to do that style, then there are a few things that you have to make sure that you're doing religiously. And those are branding yourself, like Katie mentioned earlier. We're huge on that in our team, getting yourself branded, those main things. And just kind of to expound on what she said about branding yourself, if your brand is faith, family, and maybe fitness, then you're never going to post anything that's inconsistent with your brand. Meaning, if you're a person of faith, you're not going to post something very hateful and judgmental and negative. That's not in line with that. If you're a person of fitness, you're not going to be posting about junk food all day long. It's just not in line. It's just not consistent. So you're going to always make sure that everything that you're putting up on your social media is consistent with your brand, because that's really going to attract people to you and to what you have to offer and to your lifestyle ultimately. And like Katie said too, your page is going to have to be a very positive place. That's what's going to attract people to you. They're going to be inspired by you. Give people a reason to want to return to your page, to want to see what you have to say. I can't tell you how many messages that I've gotten from people that I have never talked to, never even commented on anything. And they'll message me and just say, okay, you got me. I give up. And I'm like, what? I didn't even do anything. I haven't been knocking on your door at all. But they've just seen post after post after post and, of my lifestyle, and it's just gotten to them. It's kind of worn them down. The same way that it did for me with Alyssa. Alyssa never messaged me, wasn't hounding on my door, but I saw enough from her lifestyle that I knew I had to be a part of it. And so your brand, number one, when you're doing attraction marketing. The second thing is your posting. Your posting has to be on point. You have to make sure that they're high quality, good posts, that you're really putting your heart into your posts, that you're sharing your story consistently. The very bare minimum, once a week. 3 times a week is better. Daily is even better. Sharing your story in some form. It doesn't have to be the same, hi, my name is Claire and this is my family. It can be sharing your story in different ways. Sometimes I'll share my story literally like a story, where I'll kind of talk about a dialogue between myself and my husband, or a memory from before the business, just sharing my story in a different way every single day, and then always giving a call to action at the end, so they have a way to come connect with me. So at the end, I'll say something like, text the word trust to my phone number. I get those messages all day long. And those are just people who have read my story and now are reaching out and are interested based on that. So with attraction marketing, branding, posts, and then you have got to be adding people like crazy. If you're going to do attraction marketing, you have got to be adding people like crazy. So what I mean by that, just to put it down to numbers, 20 to 30 people bare minimum on Facebook. That's about all that Facebook will let you do. That's why that number is so low. And 100 to 200 or more on Instagram every single day that you're adding and then beginning to interact with. And I add from groups. So those different groups that I mentioned earlier where you have common interests, that's where I'm always adding from. And so if somebody messages me and said, hey, how do I know you? I just saw that you added me. I'll just say, hey, we're both members of that beauty group together, or we're both members of that mom's group. And they're always like, oh, okay, great. Nice to meet you. So don't make it weird, because it's not weird. And then interacting. The last portion, if you're going to do this method, then you've got to be interacting like crazy. Spending a lot of time. Yes, I just saw that in the chat. I did say 100 to 200 a day on Instagram. But yeah, you've got to be interacting with people daily, going into that list and commenting and liking. I have portions of every single day that I just go to Instagram and I'm just commenting and liking. A solid 15 minutes here or there, just spending on each social media platform, commenting and liking, you can get a lot of interaction done. And then if you do a little bit of interacting before you throw up a post, that's going to help your post get seen more as well. So those are kind of the main parts. If you're going to do that attraction marketing method and you're going to go a little lighter on the messaging side of things, then you've got to be doing those pieces. But Katie has great advice as far as messaging people.
I love it.
I do all those same things that Claire does, but I'm clearly not as cool as her, because people are not flocking to me like crazy. I have to go out and ask people. I'm still posting all the time, but my goal is always 20 people a day, but I like to do more than that. So I'd say 20 to 30 people a day, but those are all people that I have been commenting on their pictures, liked their pictures. They're not just like randoms that I just, blow up their inbox. So I feel like if you're always adding new people to your network and you're always liking, commenting, interacting, you will always have people to talk to. You'll always have people to message. But yeah, I always try to do 20-ish people a day and connect with those people. And even though I'm doing the same thing that Claire's doing, I have to actually go out and ask.
So what is your message?
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
You're right.
What does your message say whenever you're asking people? So you say people aren't flocking to you, so you go ask them. What does that message look like?
Yeah. So generally, I don't cold message for like loyal customers. I do let loyal customers come to me. I just make sure I'm posting a lot of before and afters. But for distributors, generally, I'll be liking, commenting on their stuff for a couple of days, and then I'll just message them and send them the most simple message. If it's on Instagram, I'll just type a quick like, hey girl, I love, the picture that you just posted. I'm so in love with your page. You'd be amazing at what I do. Like, so simple. And a lot of times they'll come back with, what do you do? Or, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And then it'll just start a conversation and we can have a real conversation. On Facebook, I will voice message them straight away and just be like, dude, your page is amazing. I love your pictures. Your kids are adorable. You would kill it at what I do. And just see what they say. And then we just kind of go from there and just keep it like a real conversation.
Okay, so I want to say something now that we've talked about that a little bit. I want to bring up just a statistic about the reality of following up and what it does for the results, right? Do you guys know that 48% of people that do what we do never follow up with a prospect? Never follow up with a prospect once. 25% of sales make a second contact and then they stop. 12% make 3 contacts and stop. Only 10% make more than 3 contacts, and 2% of sales are made on the first contact. Only 2%. 3% of sales are made on the second contact, 5% on the third contact, 10% on the fourth contact. 80% of sales take 5 to 12 contacts. Now that you know the facts, I think you'll change your mindset. I think so many of us attach ourselves to these follow-ups as it's personally them saying no to us. They don't like us. And it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with what's going on in their world, right? So, Sam, I am gonna, unless you have something else you want to add, I'm gonna see what final thing that Claire and Katie both want to end with. And then I'm gonna come to you, Hot Stuff. All right, Claire, how about you? What's one last thing that you cannot leave tonight's Zoom without mentioning?
I jotted down before we hopped on this call because Sam had actually asked me, what did you do to promote to Presidential Diamond? What did kind of your month look like when you were promoting? And something that I just wanted to say, because I feel really passionately about it, is the idea of hope versus expectation when it comes to our business. And this isn't by any means an idea that's original to me. This is something I read in my self-development reading when I was on my way home, actually on the flight home from conference, feeling excited about these Go Fast bonuses and also overwhelmed with all the work I still had to do and, that balance of excitement and fear. And I read something in my self-development that said, basically, that when you say that you're hoping for a goal, your brain actually gives itself an escape route because you're just hoping. You're saying, I hope I'm going to go Presidential Diamond, or I hope that I'm going to achieve this. And your brain sets up an escape route because it knows that you don't really mean business. And it knows that there's a way to get out of this. And so instead, change your verbiage to I expect. I expect to go Presidential Diamond. I expect to be Ambassador Diamond. I expect, whatever, and then your goal. And when you do that, your brain goes into work mode and says, well, I've got to find a way to make this happen. She's telling me this is happening, so I have to find a way to make it happen. So I'm going to go make it happen, and then just put your action to follow, and it will happen. And so whenever I was, whenever I'm preparing for any promotion, I decide that I'm going to promote. And that's actually was an absolute business changing moment for me when I was going triple diamond. Alyssa sat down with me and said, "Are you going triple diamond?" And I said, "Well, I really hope I am." And she said, "Then you're not." And I remember being like, what are you talking about? She said, "You have to decide. You have to make the decision that you're going to promote." And so with every promotion, with every goal, I've had to do that. And it's one of those things that you don't do once in your business. I feel like I do it daily. Honestly, I have to make that decision. Today, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, and putting it out there, and then believing that it's going to happen. And when you have that confidence and that knowledge and that expectation, you go into every single conversation with this confidence. And so you're not coming off as desperate to your potentials. This is the thing. This is where I'm going. Are you going to join me? That's what your conversation is like with potentials. Instead of, "Oh my gosh, I need this many people and you're a number and I need you to get in. Come on, sign. Let's get rid of all your fears." But instead you're listening to them, you're engaging them, you're truly caring about them because you're relaxed. Because you know where you're going, you know that you're going to get there, and it's just finding out whether or not this person is part of that story and part of that journey. And so that has been the number one kind of just business altering thing that's happened for me, and definitely what helped me go presidential and what I know will help me go ambassador.
Gosh, I always say, if you believe you can, you will. If you believe you can't, you won't. And you just totally endorsed, because you gave a great explanation of how the brain adapts to that, at why that's true. And then, gosh, Claire, I just love that. And I think you're putting it out there. And when you said it's not just a number, it's where I'm going. Remember, where there is no vision, people perish, and people follow people who know where they're going. So do you know where you're going? If you don't, the number one homework assignment you have before you go to bed tonight, put your head on that pillow, is to know where you're going, and then to not stop talking about it until you get there. Oh my gosh, when I joined this business, everywhere I went, no matter who would listen to me, I'd say, I'm gonna make $3,500 a month. I'm gonna step into teaching. Oops, I'm gonna mute this again, you guys. Sorry. We got. Uh-oh, guys, mute your phone, please. Okay, I muted it again. Sorry about that, ladies. But I would say to anybody who would listen, I'm gonna earn an extra $3,500 a month. This is the vehicle that's going to get me there. I'm going to do it. Are you in? Do you want to go with me? And people follow people who know where they're going. I love that, Claire. Thank you so, so much. All right. How about you? What do you think, Katie?
Gosh, I agree with that so much. The power of your mindset is ridiculous. I get up every single morning and I envision myself walking across stage on conference. And I'm going to do it next year.
Yes,
but I just think the power of your mindset is just crazy. But my one last tip, I guess, in reference to like social media, is you guys, if you're going to build your business through social media, go big or go home on social media. Do it to like the fullest extent. You better be posting every single day. You better, be calling people into your business every single day. You better be messaging. You better be interacting with people. Don't just do it half, go big. Message people and talk to people as much as you can. Make your page the most positive, fun, uplifting page out there, and just do it big. That's my life motto, is go big or go home.
I love that. Remember, Wayne Gretzky says you miss 100% of the shots you do not take. And when I think about the fact that Michael Jordan is in the history books for making the most shots, he's also in the history books for missing the most shots, but nobody ever talks about that. So I couldn't agree more. It doesn't cost you any more to try harder. It doesn't. So why not play bigger, dig deeper, reach higher? Why not? I love it. I love it. I love it. I feel like I'm back in my coaching days at halftime with my girls going, leave it all out on the court, because whether you win or lose, you'll feel better knowing you did everything you could. So couldn't agree more. Okay, how about you, Miss Samantha? What is your aha from the call tonight? Or one last thing you want to add as you were envisioning how this would go tonight?
Well, I think like what they said, oh my goodness, like it's so true. Like I think like for so long, like I've heard it over and over again, you know, you got to put your head down, you got to get to work, you got to create massive action. But like, you know, you actually have to make it up in your mind. Like it has to start like in your heart and in your mind. And if you can't get, you know, you can't put that personal development time in, and you can't get, you know, if you do a devotional, like that's what fuels you. That's what keeps you like up till me. That's what keeps me up till like 12 or 1 o'clock at night, working my business and taking massive action because, you know, I'm getting my mind right, I'm getting my heart right. And whenever those two are in line is whenever I know my business starts thriving.
I love it. Well, I cannot thank you ladies enough. This is amazing. I promise I will get this Zoom up as quickly as possible because I know there's a lot of people out there that did not make it on the Zoom. I was almost one of them that are going to be dying to get this recording. And if I can ever do anything to repay you the favor, you just let me know, okay?
We might take you up on that.
I expect you to. Good.
Thank you so much, Cammie.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Katie, I'm so glad it was you. The minute I saw you, I went, oh my gosh, I know her. We met. You inspired me on stage in Indianapolis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, again, for being our guest. And I just appreciate you both so much. Keep going, babies. Keep going.
Thank you.
Going ambassador.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. Thank you, Sam. All right.